World's Finest number 16, written by Paul Levitz, art by Scott McDaniel and R.B. Silva. So last issue, there was this whole fight against Desaad, and they just got warped back to their own world, and Karen is now without her powers. Power Girl is now just girl. So we pick up at Fashion Week in New York City, where a building has caught fire. Huntress comes in and says, yes, I have to go save these people. But as she busts in, she somehow, fails the landing or something. I'm genuinely unclear as to what happens here. And she just falls down and face plants. And no one says anything. She doesn't even acknowledge it happened. But as she looks around, she's like, I smell accelerant in the air. Therefore, this fire is caused by someone, not just a fire. So I'm going to find who did it. And she sees someone running away, gives chase, follows them outside. The fire departments are already there, so it's not like she has to save lives or anything, but she's just focused on that. She says that it's been 4 minutes since the initial explosion that started the fire, so maybe this isn't the person that they want, but it still very well could be. And then all of a sudden she gets these weird, I'm just going to call them mental projections, but solid, of kunai thrown at her. And she's like, oh yeah, this is a girl. So real quick, we make a cut back over to Karen, who's in front of her board of directors, basically saying why don't I have my company back? And the lawyer stands up being like, well, it just takes time. And so she holds up the lawyer by his tie. Just be like, get me my company back. And he's like, right away, Miss Starr. And then she just walks out. So cutting back to the chase, we see this young woman, bald, with a bunch of stripe tattoos all over her. Huntress pulls out her crossbow, takes a shot. She's able to make a mental construct of a shield that stops the arrow and repels it. So the girl jumps into the subway. Huntress is afflicted by a bunch of mental shurikens. She's unable to jump in the subway with her, but she is able to try to chase down the girl down the tunnel, and the girl's like, oh, get away from me, and blasts out at her. So that stops Huntress. So then we see Karen is looking over a bunch of tabloids with her face on it, saying, oh, if I'm going to get back out there, I got to dress the part. And Huntress comes in and is like, why are you talking to yourself? She's like, don't worry about that. How does this suit look on me? And Huntress says, I'd like to see the Power Girl suit on you. And all the 13-year-old boys say, yes, so would we all. But basically, Karen says, yeah, my powers are on the fritz. They're not gone. They're just on the fritz. I can't control them. And so I'm thinking of maybe going sunbathing because, me, my Kryptonian blood does well out in the yellow sun. So that's a thing. And Huntress is like, all right, whatever. You do what you need to do. So then she reveals, hey, by the way, I've had a run-in with this arsonist. I could really use your help. There's actually a fire going on downtown right now. Could you fly me there? And she's like, I don't know if I'm really able to fly, but yeah, I'll give it a shot. So they do manage to very shakily make their way there. Huntress is dropped down onto the burning building, which is again something to do with Fashion Week. I don't know. And Huntress says, hey, I'm going to go find the arsonist. Could you take care of the fire? And Huntress is like, yeah, sure. So she goes under the water and makes a cyclone, and the water comes up and puts out the fire. So Huntress makes her way through the building. She sees a bunch of fashionistas that have been bound and gagged up, and it looks like they were the things that were to be burned. So Huntress cuts them free and says, all right, get yourselves out. I gotta go find who did this. And as she looks out the back porch, she sees the tattooed woman on a mental construct of a disc just floating on the water. And she's like, oh my God, this girl could just fly now. That's so inconvenient for me. So she pulls out her crossbow, takes a shot, and the girl manages to duck out of the way at the last minute. But Huntress continues to give chase, and Power Girl flies in after, being like, oh, hey, I see the one you're after. Let me take care of her. So Kara flies in. She makes a mental construct of a dragon, which then starts eating Power Girl. And she's like, oh, God, it feels like I'm wrestling through an oil spill. What's going on? So she's thrown down into the water. Or sorry, it's actually solid ground at this point. She's thrown down on the ground. She's then just laying there, and Huntress comes up being like, yeah, you definitely don't have your powers back, girl. And Karen's like, I know. And then that's the issue. She's just, clearly we're going to get a follow-up on this next issue, but like the whole thing is just Karen kind of doesn't have her powers and someone's setting fire at Fashion Week locations. That's the issue. I've never in this show felt like there's a more episodic comic than this. I feel like I didn't need to know anything that's happened before, and it doesn't feel like any issue that follows this, I'm going to need to know this one either. It's just, here's what's going on this week in the lives of these two heroes from another world. And even that's not a part of it. Like, it is just, nothing about them being from another world has anything to do with this. So, yeah, nah, I mean, on its own, it's okay, I guess. But it definitely just feels so out of place because we were dealing with this whole thing of, oh, Desaad and Apocalypse and all that stuff. And now it's just like, there's this random girl just setting fires because she doesn't like Fashion Week. Oh, okay. Thank you. I don't know. I feel like if I go too low, it's going to be unfair just because I want there to be an overarching story. But that's clearly not what the goal of this comic is. But if I don't like it, then I can't give it a high rating. So I'm a bit torn. I'll just give it a flat 5 in that it feels totally superfluous. It doesn't feel like it has any real direction. That much is objectively true. But subjectively, it's not a poorly written comic. On its own, it feels like it's just having fun. And I can't begrudge it for that. So I'll just give it the 5.